The A-10 Warthog was never supposed to survive this long. For decades, starting in the 1980s through the 1990s, through the 2000s, right up until last month, the United States Air Force has been trying to retire it. Not because it doesn't work, because they wanted to replace it with something they believed would work better. Something faster, something stealthier, something that wouldn't need to fly low and slow through enemy fire to do its job. A stealth attack aircraft built around the same mission the Warthog owns, but designed for a world where flying visible at low altitude is a death sentence. Concept studies were commissioned, design philosophies were debated at the highest levels of the Pentagon. The Air Force almost went down that road completely. So why did they quietly walk away from it? And why, after everything, is the A-10 still flying in 2026? That answer is the whole video. To understand why the Air Force wanted to replace the A-10, you have to understand what the world looked like when they started having that conversation. The A-10 first entered service in 1977. It was built for one specific threat environment, massed Soviet armor rolling through the Fulda Gap in a European land war. That war never happened, but the air defense systems that would have been part of it, those kept evolving. The A-10 is non-stealth and increasingly vulnerable to modern air defense systems. In a fight against China or Russia, the airspace would be heavily contested, making low and slow aircraft like the A-10 extremely vulnerable. The A-10 could not survive against the S-400 or against advanced radar-guided SAM belts. That's the core problem. The A-10 was devastating against tanks. It was survivable against the threat environment of the 1970s and 1980s, but modern integrated air defense systems, layered radar networks, long-range surface-to-air missiles, shoulder-fired man-pads were evolving faster than the A-10 itself. During the FY 1988 budget deliberations in the Pentagon, the Secretary of Defense decided that the Air Force should fund and carry out design studies for the A-10 replacement in the 1990s. The replacement conversation wasn't born from bureaucratic whim. It was born from a genuine fear that the aircraft doing the most critical mission in ground combat was becoming a target it couldn't survive. And this is where the problem begins. Before we talk about replacing it, you need to understand what made it so hard to replace. Because the Air Force tried repeatedly and kept failing. Not because of engineering limitations, because of what the A-10 actually is to the people on the ground beneath it. The Warthog is slow, deliberately, intentionally slow. It was designed that way because close air support requires time over target. It requires the ability to orbit, to study the ground situation, to communicate with the troops below, to come back for a second pass and a third, and however many more the situation demands. It flies low, not because it can't go higher, but because the mission requires it to see the ground and for the ground to see it. The plane is designed to serve exactly its current purpose. It can take off from literal dirt runways, take on an unbelievable amount of fire, and unleash heavy ordnance. The armor around the cockpit, a titanium bathtub that weighs over 1,000 pounds, was designed to let the aircraft absorb damage that would destroy anything else and still get the pilot home. The GAU-8 Avenger cannon, 3,900 rounds per minute. A sound, the BRRT sound, that troops on the ground describe as one of the most reassuring sounds in combat. But here's the thing that the spec sheets don't capture. Soldiers trusted the A-10 because it stayed close to the fight. The final operational sorties may occur in contested environments where the Warthog's psychological impact, marked by the infamous BRRT cannon sound, remains unmatched. Not just the firepower, the presence. An A-10 orbiting overhead is visible, audible, a physical declaration that help is here, that the fight isn't over, that the enemy who thought you had you is about to have a very different day. Could stealth replace that kind of presence? That question, that single question, is the entire problem. After the Gulf War, something changed in how the Air Force thought about combat aircraft. The F-117 had been used in combat for the first time. It flew into the most heavily defended airspace in the world, Baghdad, and delivered precision strikes without being shot down. Not because it was fast, not because it was heavily armored, because radar couldn't see it. That performance changed the conversation. The Air Force believed that precision weapons changed close air support fundamentally, that the era of flying low and slow through enemy fire was ending. The emerging doctrine was built around a different philosophy entirely. The old question was, how do you survive being shot at? The new question was, how do you avoid being shot at in the first place? Survivability through stealth rather than armor, speed and standoff rather than presence and proximity. Precision weapons that could be delivered from altitudes where the aircraft was safe, rather than the Warthog's low, slow, intimate style of combat. Critics of the A-10 argued it was outdated and vulnerable to modern air defenses, while supporters pointed to its unmatched ability to provide direct support to ground troops. The Air Force's position was clear. The future wasn't supposed to absorb missiles. It was supposed to disappear from them. And that philosophy led directly to one of the most interesting debates in modern military aviation history. What would a stealth close air support aircraft actually look like?
Let's be precise here, because this is where most coverage gets dishonest. There was never a finished, classified stealth A-10 sitting in a hangar somewhere waiting to be revealed. That's not what this story is. What there was, repeatedly, over multiple decades, was a serious institutional attempt to answer the question, can we build a stealth aircraft that does what the A-10 does? The discussions around CAS replacement went far beyond saving A-10s and addressed the most effective use of air power, the character of future war, and how to design and buy effective combat aircraft. The concept studies that came out of these discussions shared certain recurring features. Internal weapons bays, because external stores are catastrophic for radar cross-section. You cannot have a stealthy aircraft carrying missiles and bombs on external pylons. Everything has to go inside. Reduced radar signature across multiple frequencies, not just the narrow band optimizations that made the F-117 effective, but broadband stealth that would be effective against the more sophisticated radar systems that adversaries were developing. Precision strike at standoff range, the idea being that if you can put a weapon on a target with 1 meter accuracy from 10 miles away, you don't need to make multiple low-level passes. Speed, because a stealthy aircraft that can also move fast has 2 separate survival mechanisms working simultaneously. Advocates proposed developing a new CAS platform with advanced technologies while retaining the iconic Gatling gun that defines the Warthog's fearsome reputation. And here's the thing that made these concept studies genuinely interesting from a doctrinal perspective. They weren't trying to build a better A-10. They were trying to build a fundamentally different philosophy of close air support, one that achieved the same tactical effect through completely different means. The A-10 achieves battlefield impact through presence, proximity, and firepower. The stealth CAS concept achieved battlefield impact through invisibility, precision, and standoff range. Same mission, completely different relationship with the battlefield. And that difference, that gap between two philosophies, is where this story really lives. This is what most people miss, and it's the most important thing in the entire video. The stealth CAS concept had a contradiction built into its foundation, not an engineering problem, a philosophical one. Here's the contradiction. The A-10 wins because it stays low, it stays visible, it stays close. The psychological effect of the Warthog, the thing that breaks enemy attacks, that reassures friendly troops, that changes the emotional calculus of a firefight, comes from presence, from the fact that the aircraft is there, audibly and visibly in the same airspace as the troops it's protecting. A soldier pinned down behind cover doesn't need to know the technical specifications of what's overhead. They need to hear it, to know it's close, to know it's not going anywhere.
Now, build a stealth aircraft. By definition, a stealth aircraft survives by not being noticed. It avoids detection. It stays fast. It limits exposure time over the target and delivers its weapons from a safe altitude and distance and then departs before any defensive system gets a clean track. The Air Force could absolutely build a stealth attack aircraft. Upgrading the A-10 to incorporate stealth is deemed impractical due to its design and mission. But they couldn't recreate what made the Warthog psychologically effective, because the A-10's psychological effect requires everything that stealth eliminates: visibility, proximity, lingering presence, the ability to make multiple passes, the sound that carries across a battlefield and tells everyone on the ground, both sides, that the rules of the fight just changed. A stealth CAS aircraft that delivers a precision weapon from 30,000 feet and disappears achieves the same physical result, target destroyed, but achieves none of the psychological ones. The enemy doesn't see it coming, but neither do the troops it's supposed to be reassuring. And in close air support, the troops knowing you're there is half the mission. This isn't a small problem. This isn't a detail that better engineering can solve. It's a fundamental incompatibility between two different definitions of what close air support is for.
The Air Force's answer to this contradiction was, eventually, the F-35. And the debate that followed tells you everything about why the A-10 is still flying in 2026. The Air Force's argument was straightforward. Precision-guided munitions had changed warfare. The F-35's sensors, its ability to fuse information from multiple sources, to track targets across multiple domains simultaneously, to deliver weapons with pinpoint accuracy, could perform the close air support mission more effectively than a slow, armored gunship. The Air Force believed the F-35 could do CAS, but the fifth-generation jet is faster, with less loiter time, and more expensive per hour than the A-10. That's three separate problems in one sentence. Faster means less time over target. An F-35 moving at combat speed has a fundamentally different relationship with the battlefield than an A-10 orbiting at low altitude. The loiter time issue is real. Close air support sometimes means waiting for the situation to develop, waiting for the right moment, waiting for a target to emerge. The A-10 can do that for hours. The F-35 cannot. And cost. An F-35 costs roughly $44,000 per flight hour to operate. The A-10 costs approximately $17,000. For missions that do not require stealth or supersonic speed, deploying an F-35 is inefficient. But the critics went deeper than the economics. Critics of the A-10's retirement pointed to the importance of close air support pilot culture and the general wisdom of attack pilots as a whole. CAS is a specialty. It requires a specific kind of pilot mindset, someone who thinks in terms of the ground fight, who understands infantry tactics, who can manage a complex low-altitude threat environment while simultaneously communicating with ground forces who may be under fire. The A-10 pilot force had spent decades developing and refining that culture. The argument wasn't just technical anymore. It had become philosophical. Here's the pattern that emerges when you look at every A-10 replacement attempt across 4 decades. It is difficult to locate any support for an A-10 follow-on or even the CAS mission in any key Air Staff or Air Force Secretariat offices. The Air Force, institutionally, has never loved the close air support mission. This goes back further than the A-10. It goes back to the fundamental identity of what air power is for. The Air Force was built around the concept of strategic bombing, the idea that air power is most effective when used independently against strategic targets, shaping the battlefield from above rather than integrating into the ground fight below. CAS is, by its nature, subordinate. The aircraft serves the ground commander. The pilot's job is defined by what someone on the ground needs. With a few atypical exceptions, the U.S. Air Force has historically shown little interest in the close air support mission for soldiers or Marines engaged in combat. So every A-10 replacement program ran into the same problem from a different angle. Every replacement solved survivability, addressed the legitimate concern that the A-10 couldn't survive in modern contested airspace.
But in solving survivability, every replacement weakened the battlefield intimacy that made the A-10 irreplaceable. The stealth CAS concept was invisible, which meant the troops couldn't see it. The F-35 was fast, which meant it couldn't loiter. Standoff precision weapons were accurate, but they came from aircraft that were far away, high up, and gone before the troops knew they'd arrived. The more advanced the replacement became, the less it behaved like an A-10. And that gap, that space between what the replacement could do and what the Warthog actually was, is why the Air Force has been failing at this for 40 years.
Here's how current this story is. On April 20, 2026, weeks ago from when this video goes out, the Secretary of the Air Force announced that the A-10 would be extended to 2030. 2 squadrons are now scheduled to be extended until 2029, while another is extended until 2029. For years, the A-10 has fought back from the retirement cliff. The original plan was for a full fleet retirement by FY 2026. That is clearly not happening. Think about what that means. The Air Force had a plan, a specific, budgeted, scheduled plan to retire the A-10 by fiscal year 2026. It failed. Not because the aircraft is secretly perfect and has no vulnerabilities. It has plenty. Not because the F-35 is inadequate. It's an extraordinary aircraft for the missions it was built for. But because when the retirement date approached and the Air Force looked at what would replace the Warthog's specific battlefield function, the close, present, visceral, psychologically powerful style of ground support the A-10 delivers, the inventory or in the pipeline can do CAS quite like the A-10. So the aircraft that was supposed to be gone by now is still flying, and the Air Force is still trying to figure out what it's going to do when it finally isn't. The A-10 survived by 3 things that none of its proposed replacements could replicate. Pilots loved it. Not with the professional appreciation you might have for a capable tool, with the kind of attachment that comes from trusting something with your life in conditions that were designed to kill you. The Warthog pilot community built a culture that the Air Force was never able to transfer to another platform. Troops trusted it. The relationship between ground forces and A-10 pilots is documented in dozens of first-hand accounts from Iraq and Afghanistan. The aircraft that showed up when everything else couldn't, that orbited when others had to depart, that came back for as many passes as the situation needed. The A-10 Warthog retirement marks the end of an era, but its legacy endures in tactics, pilot training, and the gratitude of troops it shielded. And the battlefield doctrine still valued what it offered in ways that no stealth aircraft could replicate. Replacing the Warthog was never just an engineering problem. It was a philosophy problem. The stealth Warthog concept, the invisible, standoff, precision strike version of close air support that the Air Force spent decades trying to build, solved every technical problem the A-10 had, and in doing so, stopped being what the A-10 was. The Air Force may eventually retire the A-10. The plan now runs to 2030, but it will end eventually. The Warthog cannot fly forever. But after 40 decades of stealth concepts, replacement programs, advanced 5th-generation fighters, and enough Pentagon budget debates to fill a library, one uncomfortable reality still remains. Nothing in the inventory or in the pipeline can do CAS quite like the A-10. The Air Force tried to build a stealth Warthog. They discovered that making it stealthy meant making it something else. And something else, no matter how advanced, no matter how precise, no matter how survivable in contested airspace, has never been enough to make them forget what the original could do. The most honest answer to what replaced the A-10 is the one nobody in the Pentagon wants to say out loud. Nothing did. If you had to design the A-10's replacement from scratch, what would you build? Drop your answer below. Subscribe to GlobalStrikeMatrix. Briefing complete.